controversial Republican Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is running for Senate. He is actually primarying a long-standing Republican Senator Cornyn from Texas. And he's had his own issues, Ken Paxton has. He has been impeached by his own party in Texas, not removed because he was acquitted in the Senate, but he was impeached due to some marital infidelities and some other things. And now, as he's getting ready to gear up for his Senate race, his wife has filed for divorce. She filed for divorce yesterday. I'm going to show you some clips from yesterday. If you're seeing this on YouTube, it might be a day or two removed from when it happened. But his wife filed for divorce because apparently it seems as if he might have fucked around again. And while this is probably not going to hurt him in the primary, he's going to go through some shit in the general. Watch these videos.
Oh, Casey, don't exploit a personal tragedy with all that's going on. We're better than that. Speak for yourself. I'm going to talk about this messy divorce that couldn't be happening to worse people. It's hard to explain to people who aren't from Texas how vile this couple is, but specifically Ken Paxton. I am not from Texas, but I cover it so often that I have a pretty long-standing relationship with Ken Paxton. Today, his wife, who is a state senator in Texas, posted this tweet and she filed for divorce on, quote, biblical grounds after 38 years. I'm gonna come back to that in a minute. And cites, in light of recent discoveries, that she's gonna have to move on. I'm not wholly convinced that Kim Paxton knew this was coming. Just based on the way it reads and the fact that they'd been separated for like a year, I think he might have been blindsided, which is great. In her filing, Angela cites adultery, which given Kim's past isn't surprising at all. But interesting that they had been living apart for an entire year. It's the recent discoveries that have prompted the divorce. Let me tell you the lore of Ken Paxton and how I first became associated with him. I was covering his trial. A whistleblower reported him to the FBI because Ken Paxton was using an Uber account under a different name, and he was Ubering to see his mistress, who was a former Capitol staffer. He fired the guy, so then he's brought up on charges of abuse of power and bribery. It was like a whole big scandal. And his wife, who was a state senator, remember, had to sit through hearing all of the torrid details of his affair. And though they impeached him, the Republicans eventually acquitted him. He wasn't removed from his position after all of that. And she, the state senator, stayed with him after that. Remember, this was in 2023. They didn't separate until the summer of 2024. Also, you might remember him because he was the guy that was threatening doctors that were trying to help a woman out who was 20 weeks pregnant and needed a medical abortion. And he was like, I will throw you all in jail. Remember that? That was after a judge granted this woman permission, and Ken Paxton got in front of the media and was like, anybody that helps her, I'm putting them in jail. I'm taking their license. Between that and his assault on the LGBTQ, it couldn't have happened to a worse guy. So 38 years of him and that kind of vile behavior. What the hell happened that made her say, you know what? Not anymore. And to use the word biblical grounds, you just know, like, there's got to be pictures, there's got to be video footage, like, there has to be multiple people involved. I just know it. And you know what? We deserve to know all of that because we are living through 2025. This kind of scandal, it's needed, and it's justified. We should hear it.
I don't think that he knew that she was filing for divorce today. Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, who is currently running for U.S. Senate, his wife, State Senator Angela Paxton, just filed for divorce, and she released this statement. Today, after 38 years of marriage, I filed for divorce on biblical grounds. I believe marriage is sacred, but in light of recent discoveries, I do not believe that it honors God. This statement is about her. It is about Angela. It is not about them together, and it is not about their marriage. And this part here, in light of recent discoveries. 20 minutes later, Ken Paxton comes out with this statement. After facing the pressure of countless political attacks and public scrutiny, Angela and I have decided to start a new chapter in our lives. Baby. In Angela's statement, she told us that she filed for divorce. The discovery and the divorce proceedings that are going to happen while he's running for U.S. Senate are going to be nasty. Angela is a Republican state senator, but right now, she's also a woman scorned who stood by her man and watched his mistress testify in front of her. And if the rumors that I have heard and the Texas whispers are true, he has been cheating on her with another woman unrelated to the woman that testified in the state capitol, allegedly. This is going to be one hell of a Senate campaign. We have more updates in the Ken Paxton divorce proceedings. Have the filing from Angela Paxton, Ken Paxton's wife, the divorce filing, where she cites adultery as one of the reasons for divorce and says they have not lived together since June of 2024. Now, you might remember that Ken Paxton was impeached by the Texas House of Representatives and was acquitted in the Texas Senate, but his alleged mistress had to testify in front of his wife in the Texas Senate. And she said, according to recent findings, recent discoveries, she's filing for divorce. She also says on biblical grounds. So if these are recent discoveries on biblical grounds, that's her way of saying, I found out he cheated and it was recent. So we can assume that it's not the woman that testified in front of the Texas Capitol. Paxton, who was indicted almost his entire time as Attorney General, who was impeached by the Texas House of Representatives, is going to be going through a divorce as he is running for U.S. Senate. Now, I actually don't think that this is going to hurt him in the primary. I actually think it might help him. However, the Republicans' arm of the Senate campaign committee doesn't think so, and they came out swinging against him with this statement, which means Republicans, namely those that are part of the Republican establishment, are going after Ken Paxton because he is trying to primary sitting Republican incumbent John Cornyn. It's about a long year for Ken Paxton.
Yeah. When they go low, we don't go high. Fuck that shit. I'm going to enjoy the shit out of this.